In your notes, you should have a comparison chart. I've labeled this notes 7B, not because it needs a letter. It goes with notes number 7. So it's kind of like the complementary part to that. It goes with it. So we're going to fill out this chart comparing the sun, earth, and the moon. First thing we're going to describe is the type of object that it is. The sun is a star, as we discussed. The earth is a planet. And then the moon, hold on, this is messed up. Let me change here we go. And then the moon is obviously a moon. Now, this is kind of confusing, but many of the other planets have different names for their moons. We just call our moon the moon. So it is a type of moon, meaning it is a smaller body that revolves around a planet. Okay? Distance from the sun, obviously the sun is the sun, so it's not going to have a certain distance from the sun. The Earth is 150 million kilometers from the sun, which, just in case you're wondering what that number looks like like that, okay? And then a kilometer is 1,000 meters, okay? So this is 150 million 1,000 meters, which is quite a long ways away. And then the moon, because the moon is revolving around the Earth, it's almost the same distance from the sun as the Earth is, because it's not super far from the Earth. So we're going to say that it's about 150 million kilometers. And the reason we're going to say that is because it revolves around the Earth. All right, size, diameter. So this is how thick the object is from at the biggest point on the circle. So like if you were to, almost like the equator of the Earth, okay? If you were to cut the sun in half and measure the distance of the ball from side to side, that would be the diameter. So the sun has a diameter of 1.4 million kilometers thick, right across the center. In comparison, the Earth is 12,742 kilometers, okay? Quite a bit smaller than the diameter of the sun. And then the moon is about a quarter the size of the Earth, so it's going to be about 3,000 kilometers. The moon is by far the smallest of the three. Next row says composition. This is what the object is made out of. The sun is made out of mostly hydrogen and helium, which are two types of gases, okay, which are what burn and create the light that we get from the sun. The Earth is composed of three different things: rock, water, and air, or multiple combinations of those. The moon, however, does not have air, does not have water. It is mainly composed of rock and dust, which really dust is just tiny particles of rock. So that would make sense. Average temperature. The average temperature on the sun is 5,500 degrees Celsius. Remember that when talking about science, everything is measured in degrees Celsius, not degrees Fahrenheit, right? But if we were to do a quick conversion, and I were to tell you what 5,500 degrees Celsius is in Fahrenheit, give me 1 second here. Well, I don't have a calculator at the moment, so we'll stick with that for now. 5,500 degrees Celsius. The temperature on the Earth, I'm not going to worry about the conversions right now. That's going to be moderate, which is anywhere from 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But temperature on the moon, this may shock you actually a little bit. Remember, the moon does not have an atmosphere, so it doesn't kind of trap those gases and warm them up. However, at nighttime, Typical degrees is negative 928 degrees Fahrenheit at night. Okay, extremely, extremely cold. And then the side of the moon that's in the sunlight or in daytime is about 224 degrees Fahrenheit. That's during the day. Okay. Now remember, typically our days are anywhere from 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. We start to sweat pretty badly, even when it gets up to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So 224 degrees Fahrenheit is much, much higher. And then obviously negative 298 degrees Fahrenheit is quite cold. So the moon has much more extreme temperatures than the Earth. Movements. The sun does not move. It is the center of the solar system, so there's no movement to describe there. But the Earth moves actually in two ways. First, it rotates on its axis, and it revolves around the sun. Okay? We know that it rotates on its axis once every 24 hours and revolves around the sun once every 365 and 1/4 days. The moon, however, does not rotate once every day, but it does revolve around the Earth. Okay? Atmosphere, really all we're going to say is yes or no for these. The sun obviously does not have an atmosphere. The Earth does have an atmosphere, and the moon does not. Okay? Again, that's why we live on the Earth and not on the moon or the sun. Or one reason why, at least. Gravity. Now, we talked a little bit about how the bigger the object is, the more gravitational pull it will have. So, since the sun is so big, we can say that the sun has quite a bit of gravity. Okay, which is why it has pulled 8 planets into orbit around it. The Earth also has gravity, okay, but not as much as the sun. And then the moon has a gravitational pull as well, but it's only 1/6 the power of the Earth. Okay, so for example, if you were to weigh 60 pounds on Earth, okay, because weight is the measure of gravitational pull, right? The bigger the object, the more it will weigh, the more gravity will pull on it. On the moon, because there's only 1/6 of the gravitational pull on the moon than on the Earth, if you weighed 60 pounds on the Earth, you would only weigh 10 pounds on the moon. Now, that does not mean that you have all of a sudden lost 50 pounds. It just means that the pull on you on the Earth or on the moon is much less than the pull on the Earth. Pretty interesting there. Surface features, okay? If you were to walk amongst the sun, first of all, you would burn up. But if by some miracle you could do that, you would see that the sun is composed of burning gas. It's not necessarily solid. It's just, honestly, kind of think like a big ball of flames, okay? Composed of burning gas. The Earth, however, does have a solid surface composed of rock, water, and living things. All of Earth is pretty much some combination of those things. And then the surface of the moon looks like rock, dust, and craters. Okay, craters meaning big dips or big holes almost, big valleys kind of in the surface of the moon. Now, for other physical characteristics, this is just anything you would use to describe the sun. And then for the other two, this is anything you would use to describe the Earth. That's what a physical characteristic is. And then anything you would use to describe the moon. Okay, so maybe you want to put, the Earth is the only planet known to have life on it. You could write that into the physical characteristics here. Maybe you want to put that the sun is what creates light for the entire solar system that we live in. You would write that in this box, etc. So anything actually you would use to describe these would be written in the physical characteristics box. But other than that, the reason why these notes are important is they are going to be, or on your test, you'll have a section where you have to decide. I will give you the description, and you have to tell me whether I am describing the sun, the earth, or the moon. So for example, if I were to say has a diameter of 1.4 million kilometers, you would tell me that that is describing the sun. So just another way to look at it, another way to kind of categorize the different characteristics that we discussed in the notes.